Hey guys, it's Corinne here from It's So Corinne, and for today's tutorial we will be making this super adorable crochet minion ball. Now before we begin, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the It's So Corinne YouTube channel so that way you get alerts when I make new videos, just like this. And if you would like to see the step-by-step instructions with pictures and snag the free written instructions, be sure to head over to my blog at itssocorinne.com. Now, for the minion ball, you will need a few supplies. The first thing on the list is a letter D crochet hook, which is a 3.25 millimeter hook. Then you will need a yarn needle to finish up his bottom and also to sew on his eye. Then you will need a stitch marker because the crochet minion ball is crocheted in the round, so you want to mark your first stitch. And then of course we need yarn. Now for the minion ball, as you can tell, we need several different colors. We need yellow, then we need blue, black, white, and gray. Now I could not find a solid gray, so I just went with this like ombre gray, which worked out pretty good. So if you can find a solid gray, good for you. If not, you can improvise. Now the weight of the yarn that we will be using is a category weight 4, and this is cotton yarn, so you want a medium weight cotton yarn for the minion ball. And the brands that I'm using is Peaches and Cream and also Hobby Lobby's in-house cotton brand, which I love quite a bit. And then runaway yellow ball. And then lastly, what we need is some sort of fiber fill to stuff our minion ball. And you can use any type of fiber fill that you have on hand. Or if you have a pillow, you can just cut open the pillow and use the fiber fill inside. So once you've gathered your supplies, we are ready to begin the minion ball. For round 1, we will be inserting 6 single crochets into a magic ring. So there is 1, and you want to mark your first stitch. And then we're going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then what we're going to do is we are going to pull the tail of the magic ring so that way it starts closing up the hole. And I don't like to pull it super tight, just because when I'm working with these small projects I don't like to pull it super tight until round 2, because I feel like it makes it difficult for the next round's stitches to go in. So after round 1 you will have 6 stitches. For round 2 we will be inserting 2 single crochets, also called an increase, into each stitch of the previous round. So there's our first one. Add my stitch marker. And then 2. And then you just want to continue that all the way around. Put an increase into each stitch of the previous round. At the end of round 2, you will have 12 stitches. And as you can tell, I still have a hole in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and tug on my magic ring now to close up that hole. That looks pretty good. And then we are going to move on to round 3. For round 3, we will be inserting a single crochet into the first stitch. Oops, my yarn didn't like that. And add my stitch marker. And then we will be adding an increase into the next stitch. And this is a repeating pattern. So put a single crochet into the next stitch and then an increase all the way around. After round 3 we will have 18 stitches. For round 4 we will be inserting a single crochet into the first 2 stitches. So there's 1 and then there's 2. And then, oh, my yarn does not want to work with me today. Okay, and then we are going to insert an increase into the next stitch. And then we will just repeat this all the way around. You will do a single single, and then an increase. At the end of round 4, you will have 24 stitches. For round 5, we will be inserting a single crochet into the first 3 stitches. So there's my 1. Let's put my little stitch marker in. And then this is 2. And then 3. And then we will be inserting a increase into the next stitch. And then we're just going to repeat that around. You're going to do a single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then an increase all the way around. When you get to the last stitch of round 5, you want to change your color over to black. So all you have to do that is insert your hook, yarn over in the yellow, and then you're going to have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to pick up your black yarn and you're going to hold the tail and you're going to pull it through your yellow. So there you go. And then you have the black tail and then you have the yellow tail that we were working off a minute ago. So we want to make sure we don't lose those. And then you will have 30 stitches for round 5. Now for round 6, we are going to pick up that yellow and the black, and then you're going to insert your hook underneath in the first stitch of 6, and we are going to slip stitch for the first stitch of round 6. And then we are going to count that as a stitch. And then you're going to hold the yellow and the black on the top, and then we are going to insert a single crochet into every other stitch. I guess I should say every stitch, not every other, but we're going to do a single crochet a couple of times and cover those tails, and then we can cut the yellow. Now we've gone far enough. And you just push the rest of the tails to the back. And then we are going to insert a single crochet into each stitch of the previous round. At the end of round 6, you will have 30 stitches. For round 7, we are going to insert a single crochet into every stitch of the previous round. And for the first stitch, we will be going through the slip stitch, which was the first stitch of round 6, and we are going to just treat it as a normal stitch. So you just want to insert a single crochet into the slip stitch and then insert a single crochet into each other stitch of the round. When you get to the last stitch of round 7, we will be switching back to yellow. So you just want to do the same thing that we already did. Insert your hook, yarn over in the black, and then pick up your yellow and pull it through the loops on your hook. And then you have the new color on your hook. Just want to pull that so you have a little bit of a tail. And then you want to pull the black tail, okay? And then you will have 30 stitches at the end of round 7. For round 8, we will be, hold on, let me organize myself. Okay, we will be inserting a slip stitch into the first stitch of round 8. And we are counting that as the first stitch. And we're going to put our stitch marker. And again, you just want to hold your yellow and your black tails, and you want to go underneath and kind of pin them down for a couple of stitches. And we are going to insert a single crochet into each stitch of the previous round. And when you've stitched a couple of stitches, you can cut your black and get rid of that. And then just pull those tails to the inside and keep working your single crochets. At the end of round 8, you will have 30 stitches. For round 9, you will be inserting your first single crochet into the slip stitch from round 8. Because we're going to treat that as a real stitch. And we're going to put our stitch marker in. And then for round 9 and round 10, you will be inserting a single crochet into every stitch of the previous round. So at the end of round 9, you will have 30 stitches, and at the end of round 10, you will also have 30 stitches. In the last stitch of round 10, we will be color changing to blue, and we are going to do that the same way that we did earlier. We're going to insert our hook yarn over, and then pull the blue, oops, get my fingers on it, through the loops on your hook. And then you're going to pull the yellow and the blue tail so you can tighten your loop. And so at the end of round 10 you will have 30 stitches, and then we are going to go on to round 11. So you want to take the yellow tail and the blue tail and put it right on top, and then we're going to insert our hook for the first stitch of round 11, and you're going to slip stitch, and then we are going to single crochet into every stitch of the previous round for round 11. You want to just insert your hook underneath the tails, pull your yarn through, and do your single crochet right on top of the tails. And then once you've done it for a couple of times, you can just get the yellow out of the way so it doesn't get tangled up in our new yarn, and then push the tails to the inside, and then keep adding your single crochets all the way around. At the end of round 11 you will have 30 stitches. For round 12 we will be inserting a single crochet into the first 3 stitches, and the first stitch will be going into that slip stitch that we made, which we're counting as a regular stitch. So you're going to do 2, that's the second one, and then the third, and then we are going to be doing an invisible decrease. So you're going to insert it into the front loop of the first stitch, insert it into the front loop of the second stitch, you yarn over, pull through both of them, and then yarn over and complete your decrease. And you're going to repeat that all the way around. You're going to do a single crochet into the next 3 stitches, and then you're going to do an invisible decrease. At the end of round 12 you will have 24 stitches. For round 13 we will be inserting a single crochet into the first 2 stitches, and then we will be doing an invisible decrease, and we're going to repeat that all the way around. You're going to do a single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then an invisible decrease. At the end of round 13 you will have 18 stitches. For round 14 we will be inserting 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then an invisible decrease. And just like the other rounds, this is going to be a pattern that we repeat. So you're going to just do your invisible decrease, and then a single crochet, and then invisible decrease all the way around. At the end of round 14 you will have 12 stitches. Round 14 is the round that we are going to stuff your Minion Ball. So you just want to get your polyfill and start stuffing it. Now if you want it to sit on a shelf, you don't want to stuff it too full because otherwise it won't sit up. So as you're stuffing, you just want to keep that in mind. Now if you're going to use this as like a backpack bauble, or even you could add a yarn hanger and make it an ornament for your Christmas tree, which would be super cute. You really don't have to worry about how full you stuff it, because for a backpack ornament, not an ornament, but a backpack bauble, it just hangs there, so it doesn't really matter if it's super stuffed. But if it's sitting on a desk or a shelf, you probably want to make sure that you can play with it, so you don't want to overstuff it. Okay, and I just use, as you can tell, I just use the end of another crochet hook that I have that is actually the perfect size to stuff the stuffing in these little guys. So I use it quite a bit. Okay, and once it is at the stuffing amount that you like, then we are ready to move on to the next round, which is also the last round of the ball. Round 15. For round 15, we are just going to do a invisible decrease all the way around. So just like we did in previous rounds, we're just going to go underneath the front loop of the first stitch, the front loop of the second stitch, yarn over, pull through both, yarn over, make your stitch. And you just want to do that all the way around. And you do want to try and push down the polyfill away from your stitches so that way you're not catching the fibers in your stitches as you go. At the end of round 15, you will have 6 stitches. And all you want to do is take out your stitch marker, and we are going to close up his little booty. So I've already cut my yarn. So you want to cut a little bit, leave a tail. You want to pull it through. And then what you want to do is you want to sew this last 6 stitches closed. So what we're going to do is go through, let me see, where's my first stitch? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I took out my stitch marker too quick. You want to go through either the front or both loops of each stitch. And you want to pull it as you're sewing, because we are going to close up this little hole and give him a little flat booty so he can be complete. I like to go through the front loops. I personally think it's a personal preference. And once you go through every loop, you want to pull it tight and see how it's getting flatter. I like to pull it and hold it at the same time. I feel like it makes it flatter. I play with it, and then I go straight through the center and come out the side through an actual stitch. You don't want to come through like the yarn, but you want to come through a hole. You want to pull it and see, you play with it and see how flat his tushy is. What we're going to do is add a knot to this yarn, and we're going to load it back into the needle. And then we're going to go straight through the exact same hole that we came out of a minute ago. Come out another hole, pull until your knot pops in. And you want to pull this, and you want to cut it, and then play with your little ball and see, like, until the end pops in. If it doesn't, you can just help it along with the needle. And then your little minion ball is complete. All we got to do is make his eye. To begin the minion eye, we will be inserting 6 single crochets into a magic ring. So that's my first one. Just put my stitch marker in there. Second, 3, 4, 5, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull my magic ring a little bit because we are about to do a color change. We're going to do a color change in the 6 single crochet at the first round. You're going to yarn over, have 2 loops on your hook, and you're going to bring your white over and pull it through the 2 loops. Oops, a little too far. I'm going to adjust that. Okay, and I know this is a little tricky just because it's in a magic ring, but it is totally doable. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we are going to pull the magic ring closed so we can adjust this better. And you don't want to pull it too closed because it's going to make it hard to get your stitches in. Okay, so then you're going to tug on your black. See how I just pulled my loop more, and then we're going to shorten this one. Okay, so there you have it. You have 6 single crochets, and then what we are going to do as the last stitch of round 1 is insert a slip stitch into the first stitch. And you're going to pick up your 2 tails, and we want to slip stitch into this one right here, which I know it's a little hard to see. It's the first one, and you want to slip stitch underneath those 2 tails because we're going to try and pin them down. Okay, so there you go. And then you've slip stitched. And as you can see, I still have a hole in the center of my eye, but I'm going to pull on that later after we do round 2. But so at the end of round 1, you have 6 stitches. For round 2, we are going to be putting an increase into each stitch of the previous round. And the first increase goes into the same stitch that your slip stitch went into, because the slip stitch is not counted as a stitch. So we are going to just do an increase, and then you just want to hold your tail your 2 tails and then crochet underneath them, just like we did for the ball. So we're going to add another increase here. Okay. And then we are going to cut the black. You don't want to cut it too short because you do need to weave it in later. So you don't want to go crazy short because otherwise you won't have anywhere to weave it into. Which would be bad. Which I have been there, done that. Or another option is you could just keep crocheting over it until it disappears, which might be a better option just because we're sewing this eye on. So that's also doable. Okay, so when we get to the last stitch of round 2, we will be doing a color change to gray. Okay, so what you want to do is, just like we did earlier, we're going to yarn over and then, I'm sorry, I have to adjust. Let me move my black out of the way. I have all these yarns. Let me get my gray. Okay, so you're going to yarn over, have 2 loops on your hook, and you're going to get your gray, and you are going to pull it through. And this one is going to be way easier to do than the white because we're not in the magic ring. Okay, so the last stitch of the round is a slip stitch into the first stitch of the round, just like we did earlier. So you're going to slip stitch like that, and then we have 12 stitches, and we have gray loaded onto our hook for the next round. And as you can see, I still have a hole in the middle, so this is the part where you want to tug onto your magic ring tail. Okay, and close up your little eye like that. Okay, and then we are going to start with the gray for round 3. And what we're going to do is we are going to insert a single crochet into the same stitch that we just, oops, I think I went to the wrong spot. A single crochet into the same spot that we just slip stitched to, because a slip stitch does not count as a stitch. Okay, so that is our first single crochet. And then we're going to insert a single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and then we are going to do an increase. But once you get over the stitches so far, we can cut the white. Now, I mean, not the stitches, but once you crochet over the tails for a couple of stitches, we can cut the white. Now, word of caution, I want you to cut the white pretty long because this is going to be the yarn that we use to sew the eye onto the minion. So you want to leave quite a long tail for sewing and just try to work around it and leave it behind. Like when you crochet, keep it behind you so that way you don't accidentally catch it as you go. And then we're going to repeat that for the rest of the eye. You're going to do a single crochet into the next 3 and then an increase. Once you finish crocheting all the way around for round 3, we are going to slip stitch to this first stitch, and then we are going to cut the gray and then pull it through. And then what you need to do is go around and weave in all these little ends that you see, the black, the white, except the only one that you don't want to weave in and cut off is this long white one, because like I said earlier, this is what we are going to use to sew it onto the minion. So once you have it weaved on, we can take our little minion ball that I put over here and clear some stuff away. And we can take the white yarn, and we can sew him to the front of our minion. So as you can see right here, this is where we did the color changes. So that's the back. So I always just eyeball it, no pun intended, and put the eye directly opposite. And as you notice, the gray is rolling up. Like, that is intentional because I wanted it to look like his little glass, his goggles rim. So if it is rolling up, that is what it's intended to do. So what you're going to do is just sew, take the white and sew inside of the white portion and sew the eye to the front of the minion. After you have sewn your eye onto your minion ball, it's done. Yay you! And now all you have to do is put him on a shelf or on your desk, or like I said earlier, you could add a yarn hangers to hang him on a Christmas tree like I did in the Santa and elf ornaments, and he would be super cute. Or you could make him into a backpack bauble by adding a clip of some sort. Now I have made this little guy into a backpack bauble using split rings and a plastic lobster claw. I am obsessed with these right now. I love them so much. And as you can tell, this little guy is smaller than this little guy, and that is because I used a crochet hook that is a letter B for this one, which made it a little bit more difficult just because the cotton yarn is thicker, but it is totally doable, and he is super cute because I love the size of him on my backpack. But you could totally turn the bigger one into a backpack bauble as well. Now if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the It's So Crony YouTube channel. So that way you get alerts when I make videos just like this. And be sure to visit me at my blog at itsocrony.com. And so until next time, go create something amazing.